So, big news this week is that Kickstarter has announced their new 2025 product roadmap, and they've made some relatively big announcements about some changes to the platform and some new tools for the creator and for backers, things that they're going to be rolling out. If you've been following the Kickstarter space for a while, if you've been a creator yourself, a lot of this will probably sound good to you and exciting to you. And I want to actually dive into all of the details that have been shared. So, if you are curious about where I'm getting this or you want to dive deeper, there's a really great page on the Kickstarter platform. It's just updates.kickstarter.com. And it's sort of like a blog slash updates page that dives deeper and has a number of links that go into more of everything they're doing. So that's a page that I check often. But what I want to do is that Kickstarter's Everette Taylor has released a YouTube video where he's going over this new product map. And so, what I want to do is we're going to watch some of that. I'll stop and give some instant reactions and dive deeper into certain aspects of this. And then we'll use this as a springboard for our discussion about where things are going with Kickstarter's product roadmap. And I'll be curious to see what the comics launchers out there are most excited about, what they're nervous about, what they still want to know more about and want to see. And I'll also talk about what you might want to do if you want to start testing out some of these features ASAP. So let's check this video out.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Everette Taylor, CEO of Kickstarter. Last year, we shared our vision for making Kickstarter an even better home for creators by evolving into an all-in-one crowdfunding and launch platform that supports them at every stage of their journey.
Kind of a change from where Kickstarter was 8-9 years ago to right now. For the longest time, I think Kickstarter was fine doing what Kickstarter does. And they were fine with there being other platforms out there that were sort of add-ons, things that could help, the service before Kickstarter and after Kickstarter, some cases during Kickstarter. Now, Kickstarter really is trying to be that one-stop shop. Last year, to that effect, they rolled out late pledges, which allowed them to continue to sell things even after the campaign was over and sort of really changed the nature of how Kickstarter campaigns were not just a discrete 30-day event, but expand the length of when you could do business on Kickstarter. And they also started rolling out a Kickstarter performance marketing team, which is basically a way to another revenue stream for Kickstarter that they could sell ad and crowdfunding marketing services as a product that would be an additional revenue stream for Kickstarter. So those are two big changes that were sort of fundamental assumptions about how Kickstarter worked. One, that Kickstarter, once the campaign was over, your relationship with Kickstarter was over until the next campaign that you launched. And two, that Kickstarter really only had one way to make money. Both of those things that for the longest time were really just staples of how Kickstarter works.
From pre-launch to post-campaign. Today, I'm here to share how we're making that vision real with some of our most ambitious changes yet. Not only are we officially becoming the all-in-one crowdfunding platform creators have been asking for, but we're also improving the experience for our backer community. We're making Kickstarter easier to use, more effective, and more rewarding for everyone who makes great ideas happen.
And then also as a consumer and user of tech tools to run and support my business, a lot of times what they're trying to do here, they're saying that they're trying to do here, is one of the hardest things to actually do. Simple, easy, and all in one are often complicated endeavors. And you've probably had this experience where you've got a tech tool, you use it for one purpose, it's perfect for that one purpose, and then they start adding other things that it can do. And the dream is that it allows you to replace all of these other discrete tools that you were stitching together in a software suite, and you can just get rid of them all and replace them with one Swiss Army knife of a tool. But the reality is, a lot of decisions need to be made and a lot of compromises need to be made, and such that the all in one tool, well, it doesn't quite do this as well as that one tool you were using, and something else not quite as well as the other tool that you were using. And so there, a lot of times, are compromises to be made here. And so, that from a designer perspective, is really the big challenge here, is like, how does Kickstarter keep and stay simple and stay easy to use and stay the preferred number one crowdfunding platform, and do what it's always been able to do very, very well, and I would say better than anyone else, and then also incorporate these other tools that creators like myself have been going out and maybe hiring someone to run Facebook marketing on my behalf during a big launch, or using a tool like BackerKit, and before that CrowdOx, and some of the other the Pledge Manager by KickTrack, a lot of other external tools. How does Kickstarter keep its core thing, the reason that we all come for, simple and easy and working as well as we hoped, and then also add these other features that some creators have been going out to get? And how do we make it so that these new things can actually do the things that the advanced power users were using them to do, but also not overcomplicate things for Kickstarter's existing users? That is really the central design challenge for what Kickstarter is up to. And I'm going to be interested and we'll be watching carefully and reporting carefully to see how they're able to walk that line and do this. But I will say, as someone that, has purchased many a all-in-one tool, whether it be a website builder or an email marketing service or something else, a lot of times delivering on that promise of, hey, it's the one-stop shop, is really, really difficult.
Here's a sneak peek at what's new on Kickstarter this year. All right, let's start with something creators have been asking for: pledge management tools. Creators have wanted a seamless way to handle campaign logistics, fulfillment, and post-campaign add-ons without needing third-party tools. Yeah.
So this is again, the shot across the bow to BackerKit, and BackerKit's sort of market leading product, Pledge Manager by BackerKit. We know that several years ago, BackerKit threw a shot across the bow saying, we are not just going to be a pledge manager, we are going to be a crowdfunding platform, and we are going to aggressively go after Kickstarter's power users. We're going to reach out to some of the biggest game projects on Kickstarter and encourage them and incentivize them to use our crowdfunding service instead of Kickstarter. We're going to do that by offering them really good terms, better terms in some cases, and negotiate with them. We're going to, in some cases, give them access to tools that they may have already been spending thousands of dollars to use, like BackerKit Pledge Manager or maybe BackerKit Marketing, and they were either going to give those things to them for free or at a reduced rate. And so they aggressively went after some of the whales on Kickstarter in some of Kickstarter's biggest categories, like games, to get them over there. I still believe Pledge Manager is probably the main cash cow over at BackerKit crowdfunding. I'd actually be curious to see, even though that their crowdfunding side of the business has grown over time, I'd be actually really curious to see how it breaks down between revenue generated by Pledge Manager versus by their crowdfunding platform. But this is basically Kickstarter saying, yeah, you are not going to need BackerKit anymore. And that was something that it seemed to me from last year's announcements, that was something that it seemed like, or a direction that it seemed like they were heading. But this sort of solidifies that. Them saying, we're all in one, you will not need anything else. This, we are going to do this stuff for you. And we're going to have a pledge management tool that allows you to do these things that you've been doing over on BackerKit is a big deal.
And add-ons without needing third-party tools. Yeah, that's right. You can now keep all of your backers on one platform. Now, Kickstarter's pledge management tools are here, available today for select creators, and will be available to all creators very soon. With our pledge management tools, everything happens in one place. You'll get a seamless experience for you and your backers at no additional cost. the chance to raise more with post-campaign add-ons. Your community is already here. Your campaign is already here. Now your pledge management tools are here too. I'm excited for Kickstarter to finally offer this solution to our creators.
Kickstarter has a page set up for this right now. I'll include a link to it in the show notes. But right now, these pledge management tools are not available to all creators. It seems like this is something that is in beta or pre-beta even. It says available now to select creators and coming to everyone later this year. So you can actually submit to get early access to Kickstarter's Pledge Manager if you sign up and go to their page, startkickstarter.com/pledge manager beta sign up. I'll include the link. But yeah, so the main things for Kickstarter's Pledge Manager that they're calling out as a feature is it's a unified platform. Again, that means you do not need to go from over to BackerKit post Kickstarter to manage your pledge. You can raise more with add-ons. That was one of the things that was the biggest, I think, head scratcher when Kickstarter announced that they were allowing late pledges. It was like, okay, yes, Kickstarter is now allowing late pledges, but they still weren't allowing backers to add on after the campaign. Anyone that's done BackerKit knows that with a well-optimized BackerKit survey and a well-optimized BackerKit add-on page and selection that's well-crafted, that's well-designed, that many creators could raise anywhere from an additional 5 to 25% or more just by sending out your Kickstarter, your Pledge Manager survey in BackerKit Pledge Manager, and having 5% of their backers or so just upgrade or add to their pledge on the way to checkout. Again, one of the things that makes this a no-brainer for Kickstarter and for creators is that they can raise more money. Presumably Kickstarter also raises more money because the 5% that they take would still be in effect after the fact. And there would be no additional fee to use this service. It says Kickstarter's Pledge Manager is included with no additional upfront cost. If you are a Kickstarter user and you use BackerKit, for most creators, it's a 2% fee to set it up. And so, on a $10,000 campaign, that's $200. On a $100,000 campaign, that's $2,000, and so it definitely would scale up. And so that's real money. I know that those additional fees just to get rolling with BackerKit have prevented a lot of creators from doing some of the savvy strategies that I've been teaching over in Comics Launch and that creators use to continue to make sales after the initial launch. So a couple of details that tease here is that this is a new 6-step pledge manager integrated into the creator dashboard. You can manage every aspect of your campaign effortlessly from start to finish. So a 6-step pledge manager. And if you're thinking 6 steps, well, I don't even know what the 6 steps might be. Well, anyone that has set up a BackerKit pledge manager realizes that there's actually a lot more than 6 steps that goes into setting up your BackerKit Pledge Manager. And a common thing that both I've discovered and many creators that use BackerKit have discovered is that you always forget how long it actually takes to set up. Even though so much of the information is getting imported, a lot of times you're recreating stuff, you're remapping stuff. Oftentimes things change a little bit between the Kickstarter launch itself and then the end and then the actual fulfillment side. So a lot of times when you launch a Kickstarter, for example, you might say, hey, here's what every backer is getting. But then by the end of the Kickstarter, because you've unlocked so many stretch goals and things like that, what's included in like a stretch goal bundle might go from 2 things to 20 things. And in BackerKit, you actually have a way or a chance to go and sort of account for all of those things that are included in the stretch goal bundle after the Kickstarter. Whereas once, something's pledged, you can't really account for all of that stuff during the Kickstarter campaign. And so a lot of times there are changes between how things are packaged together at the end of the campaign versus the start of the campaign. And so hopefully this new pledge manager feature in Kickstarter allows you to do this. We got Funny Fig says BackerKit had to have seen this coming. It seems like an obvious improvement for Kickstarter, aggressively changing their platform. And some of the conversations that I've had with people over at Kickstarter just sort of reinforce that. It was a corporate thing for a while that they were not really going to make many changes to the core of the platform, and that there were certain businesses or certain things that Kickstarter was just never going to do. And I think under the leadership of Everette Taylor, all of those old assumptions have kind of not necessarily been tossed out of the window, but they've been looked at and recognize that this is a different environment right now in 2025, and that the new ethos is, let's listen to both our backers and our creators and just start giving them the things that they're asking for. Usually a good way to stay in business. So something else to draw your attention to, they say our enhanced backer survey is integrated into the pledge manager flow and allowing you to leverage existing tools you already know to gather crucial backer and production ready data. Shipping is charged within the pledge manager, not at pledge. Now, this is sneakily the single biggest change potentially to the Kickstarter platform since the very beginning. Shipping is charged within the pledge manager, not at the pledge. During the pledging process, your backers will be shown an estimated shipping cost range for their pledge, which you can configure. And this supports flat rate shipping only. Weight-based shipping will be coming soon. So by my read of this, and this will just be that one piece alone would probably be enough for me to still say, all right, I'm going to wait before I use the pledge manager, and that I wouldn't be in beta simply because weight-based shipping is how I do international and how I've done international for a long time. If they're not supporting it yet, if they're just basically doing, add-on and pledge level support, and you have to attach a dollar amount to a pledge level and to an add-on, that's probably not something that I would mess with, even though that's how Kickstarter currently. There are a lot of creators that do that fine. It's kind of not how I've set things up or how I've done things recently. But this idea, I'm going to be curious with how, from a backer's perspective, this ends up working out, because many backers for the first 15 plus years of Kickstarter's existence, backers have been trained to often make a single pledge on Kickstarter. And when that pledge is done, they do not have to make another pledge. And it sounds like that's no longer how Kickstarter will work, and that potentially every backer going forward for physical products that require shipping, every backer will a two-step process. There's your pledge level, and then there's shipping, and then you'll pay for shipping when you finish your survey. Now, compared to a platform like BackerKit or another external platform, one thing that seems like this will be a smoother experience for a lot of backers is that Kickstarter already has your card on file, right? And you will already have been charged once for your pledge in order to get to the pledge manager. So you're not going to have the backer have to go and re-upload a credit card or do something else. It'll be, probably one click checkout. So I'm not worried about a lot of backers suddenly not paying, because it's probably going to be a smooth checkout service for them. The other thing that was really interesting is related to taxes. They say we've made it easier for you to collect any applicable tax from your backers. US sales tax and VAT for EU and UK backers will now be collected alongside reward preferences and shipping costs. So in order to get more information about that, you actually have to dive into the Pledge Manager beta guide. They have more details on this. You can see a bit more information about what's going on inside the Pledge Manager, as there's information added to Kickstarter's help page. This kind of is a change. Now, up until this new change, Kickstarter has been lax or unclear about how sales tax is collected, or whether sales tax is collected, and what Kickstarter's role is in sales tax collection, or who is responsible for sales tax collection. And from what I've seen, most online platforms out there, like, the rules have changed, the things have gotten tougher, etc. And so going forward, there's a real change here. So here's something that they say here. To the extent that Kickstarter is expanding its service to support a creator's fulfillment of rewards to backers, Kickstarter is now required to collect and remit sales and value-added tax for certain transactions that take place on our platform. In general, sales tax must be calculated on transactions that involve the promise to ship goods to backers. Although many states limit the scope to sales involving tangible personal property, certain states have expanded the scope of their laws to include services. What will Kickstarter be responsible for? Kickstarter will be responsible for collecting sales tax on qualifying orders, collecting the sales tax from the backer, and ultimately remitting the sales tax to the appropriate taxing authority. Kickstarter will be responsible for maintaining its own books and records to support these transactions. What will the creator be responsible for? Creators will be responsible for properly identifying the type of reward they are offering to backers and the value of that reward. This information will be used by Kickstarter to calculate the applicable sales tax, if any. One of the things that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to give a value to all of your products, and that value will be the value that backers are being taxed on. And that value may or may not be different than the pledge levels itself. I don't have it all figured out. I'm not going to do a deep dive on this because I haven't kicked the tires on this, but this is actually adding and changing a lot of things about how just a lot of the questions and things that a lot of creators might not have known that they even had to think about during this. But the good news is that for the creator is that you're not going to have an extra obligation to keep track of what sales taxes you're responsible for, in what jurisdictions for what backers. Like, that's something that Kickstarter is going to take care of for you. But from a backer's perspective, we can now expect that when we back Kickstarter campaigns, at the end of the campaign, when we go to pay shipping, which is usually going to come after the campaign is over, we also will probably be charged a sales tax on that if we are in certain jurisdictions that require that. And so, while what I said earlier related to the fact that because Kickstarters they already have your credit card, they already have, and it's kind of going to be a smooth, streamlined checkout process, and probably just a couple of clicks in order to complete your order, submit your survey, complete your order, choose any add-ons. It's going to be a new process for creators that are using Kickstarter Pledge Manager, but there may become, for like most or all backers, the fact that every time you back a Kickstarter campaign, it's not just one decision or one transaction. It's actually going to be two transactions for every campaign, a transaction to back the project, and then a transaction at the end to pay for shipping and cover your sales tax. Does that reduce the total number of campaigns that people are going to start backing? I wonder, like, that's something I wonder. And also, given, like, in the comics community in particular, that a lot of campaigns are backed by creators, and they're throwing, $5 here, $10 there, nominal things to support other creators. But if this becomes, if this adds cumbersomeness to the Kickstarter process, or if you're getting a bill for 25 cents for that digital thing that you threw $3 to, and then you got to pay 25 cents at the end of that, does that, like, hurt conversion rates down the line? I mean, this is a new world. This is something that we're going to have to wait and see, but it's just something that I'm starting to think about, and I'll be interested about. So, do I need to include sales tax on my tax filings? The sales tax that Kickstarter collects and remits does not count as income to you. However, we recommend consulting with a tax professional to ensure you're handling any applicable taxes, such as income taxes on your campaign funds, correctly. Disclaimer, this guidance is for informational purposes, is not tax advice. Same with me. I'm not your tax accountant. Go talk to one that does that professionally. Funny Fig says, I really hope this means things like stretch goals and limited time promos can be officially integrated. So, one thing that I will say, just in response to that, is I have not seen that as an announcement on the roadmap. Speaking of that, let's get back to the video and see what else we've got. Everett, too.
I'm excited for Kickstarter to finally offer this solution to our creators and backer community. Next, a feature that makes backing projects more flexible and accessible for backers. We're introducing Pledge Over Time. When a creator enables the Pledge Over Time option on their campaign, their backers can split their pledge into 4 equal payments. This makes it easier to budget, support big ideas, and access higher tier rewards. Pledge Over Time isn't just a win for backers, it's a game changer for creators. By reducing cost barriers, we're helping creators attract higher pledge amounts and reach more backers.
So this Pledge Over Time, at first I'm like, what exactly are they talking about here? But this is called Pay Over Time on BackerKit. BackerKit already enables this or lets you enable it. Many websites out there have some format of this, whether it's Afterpay, but just the idea with Pay Over Time is that instead of getting charged the lump sum for what they back, will be able to break up the cost of that pledge by dividing it by 4, I believe, and getting charged every 2 weeks instead of a one lump sum. Now, I will say that this is probably going to be a successful and a used tool that if Kickstarter implements it, and as Kickstarter is implementing it, and the reason I can say that with some confidence, one is if you just look at economic indicators, one of the top stories over the past couple of years has been the increased utilage of these kinds of Afterpay, Klarna type services that allow consumers to do this on Shopify sites or other places. I think Amazon might have a version of this, like just PayPal has a version of this. And so these are utilized services. And then from my own experience, we've got a backer kit running right now, taking part in the Pintopia event. Right now, I've got the C is for Cthulhu Kickstarter, the C is for Cthulhu pins and plushies event. We've raised $18,000, 203 backers. Last I checked, 23 of those 203 backers were using the Pay Over Time feature, which on BackerKit is enabled on pledges that are over $100 or $150. I'm not sure exactly where the cutoff is. I'd have to double check. But over $5,400 is being pledged using that feature. Now, the BackerKit feature, I believe it's paid over monthly. So the Pay Over Time will be spread over 4 months. So that's something that I'll have to remember. And so even though I'm seeing $18,000, if 5,000 of that is Pay Over Time, well, I shouldn't expect anywhere close to $18,000 in terms of the first lump sum that I'll be getting. And that will also presumably on Kickstarter, if 10% of backers utilize that feature, it may impact the percentage of the funding that you receive 2 weeks after the Kickstarter campaign is over. And so will you raise more total funding? Almost certainly. Will you get the usual 90% of what you see on your Kickstarter right when the campaign ends or 2 weeks after the campaign ends? Probably not. That will probably be phased in over time. And so that's just something that creators will have to adjust to and be wary of. And again, it's making things a little bit more complicated. And I will say that while these features are things that creators have been asking for a long time, or things that creators like, things like late pledges and other things, I will say, having been working on getting my taxes ready, the Kickstarter campaign calculations of, what my 1099 says we received, and where that money came from, and accounting for where the fees were, it all became a lot more complicated, because instead of just having one Kickstarter transaction per project, I now have, many transactions per project, as late pledges potentially continue to come in over time. So again, it's just, this is adding complexity to what was a very simple Kickstarter platform. And so things are becoming a little bit more complicated and more things to be aware of. All right, let's continue.
We're helping creators attract higher pledge amounts and reach more backers. Starting today, Pledge Overtime is available to select creators and will be coming to all creators later this year.
So you can go ahead and sign up to be an early adopter of Pledge Overtime.
Backing projects. And I'm excited to announce that we'll be making it easier to find projects you love and manage the ones you've already backed. We introduced the backings dashboard for backers using the Kickstarter mobile app on Android, and it's coming soon to iOS. Now we're making it even better. This year, backers will be able to view all their projects, funded, live, and even unsuccessful or canceled ones, in one place. Plus, we're adding search and filter tools to make it easier to navigate pledge history. We're also rolling out improved search and discovery tools, making it faster and easier to find your next favorite project. Ultimately, we want to deliver more relevant search results, connect backers with projects they care about, and offer a more personalized Kickstarter experience. This will also benefit our creators by helping new backers discover their projects and help them raise more money.
Increased discoverability, increased ability to a better recommendation engine. This is something that Kevin Laporte, who's been doing the daily Kickstarter analysis, has been asking for, things like project tagging, letting projects get the NSFW tag, so that creators and giving backers more control over what they can see or potentially not see. So there's a lot of things that I think Kickstarter could do there. We'll see exactly. There's not a lot of details about what this all looks like, but I'll be curious to see where that goes.
Trust. Trust is always top of mind for us here at Kickstarter. We know that maintaining it means listening to our community, addressing their concerns, and continuing to evolve our platform. When I hear from backers about projects that don't live up to their expectations, I take that personally. So I'm making trust and safety a top priority at Kickstarter. This year, we're doubling down on our commitment to trust with updates that give backers more clarity and confidence when supporting projects. Here's what you'll see. More transparency on projects were created.
The screenshot that they're showing here has a message that says Kickstarter has restricted this creator. Kickstarter Trust and Safety has investigated user reports associated with this project and its creator, and can't really see it much more. But the idea here is that they are going to crack down on people that abuse the Kickstarter system, or potentially do more vetting of project creators. And I think that's a good thing.
Creators don't follow through and stop communicating with backers. More information about the creator's track record and the team behind the project. Improved vetting and monitoring tools to help us detect and address potential risks sooner. Backers want more transparency, accountability, and assurance when supporting projects, and we're committed to meeting those needs. Some of these new features are already available on Kickstarter today, while others will launch throughout the year. There's never been a better time to be a part of the community on Kickstarter. We can't wait to see the incredible projects you'll create and support in 2025. Check out our blog posts and stay tuned for more updates. We may have a few more surprises up our sleeves.
All right. So that's the wrap up of Kickstarter's project and platform vision for 2025. There are a lot more details that you can get by checking out their updates page, and you can see a fair amount of stuff there, even if there's not sort of a full walkthrough for everything. And so I think I've highlighted most of my reactions to it. The big theme is that Kickstarter really is doing what it can to be that all-in-one platform and to continue to level up. So it seems like this is going to be a busy year of development. I think their biggest challenge will be fighting against the challenge that any software tool that wants to be an all-in-one solution often has, and that's uh, sacrifice for being able to do everything with being with ease of use that Kickstarter creators and backers have come to know and expect from Kickstarter. And so it will be interesting to see how they are able to walk the line and maintain it. I do, I saw a tweet from a creator that I sort of commiserated with, who, you know, felt like even though he's on, I think, 15 to 20 launches deep, every time he sets up a Kickstarter campaign, it does seem like it takes a little bit longer, and it's there's more things to fill out or more things to do. And I've sort of had that same experience, even though I, written written the book, and or at least created the course on setting up Kickstarter campaigns, and have all the tools and the strategies, and there's a lot of stuff that I can just copy and paste. And yet, because of the complexity of and the how these platforms have evolved, setting up a Kickstarter campaign and running a Kickstarter campaign, there's a lot more choices to be made. When you add a pledge manager to the core Kickstarter experience, well, that's going to add even more time that goes into running a Kickstarter project. Now, will it save time versus using an external tools like BackerKit or some of the other competitors out there? Ideally, the answer is yes. There are also, from my perspective, I'm going to be sort of probably taking a cautious wait and see and kick the tires on some of these new features and new things. But the reality is, from a product standpoint, BackerKit Pledge Manager has a decade or more on whatever pledge manager that Kickstarter rolls out. So while Kickstarter is the market leader in terms of crowdfunding platforms, they're 90% of the market for most categories. They are not the market leader in pledge managers right now. They are the upstart. And there are some things that BackerKit Pledge Managers does so darn well, just little things that it's like, oh, wow, the way they show this or the way they allow creators to deploy this. Well, I have business cases where I can say, this thing right here you know, makes me money, and I don't want to lose that. And so for a lot of the power users that are very familiar with how to effectively run a pledge down the line, it's definitely going to be a tough sell to pull them over, especially when there are things that BackerKit is doing on the back end that maybe the pledge manager and Kickstarter can't do yet. I'm talking about things like with the shipping group creating and postage calculations potentially, or just the ability to ask upsell questions in your survey and collect money right there when you ask those upsell questions. Like there's a lot of things that BackerKit can do and their pledge manager can do that just come from the fact that they've had thousands and thousands and thousands of products and project creators getting reps with their software and asking for things and them iterating. They've had a decade to do that. Kickstarter's playing catch up there. How fast they're able to catch up, how exciting they're able to call out creators that are using these things and have made the switch and are endorsing it. Their ability to do those things will sort of determine how successful this is ultimately for them and for the creators that use that. So that's something that I'll just be keeping my eye on. And then The changing of shipping is definitely something that is probably a big change to the way most creators have grown up using Kickstarter, where in the past collecting for shipping was almost always done at the pledge level, or it was always done at the when the campaign was going, unless you were using an external tool like BackerKit. Well, now, even if you are using Kickstarter, they are shifting towards a, hey, you'll charge for shipping after the campaign is over, after the backers had a chance to add on whatever they want to add on and complete and confirm and lock in. And so that's going to be definitely a game changer and a big change for most creators out there, and most backers out there as well. So how that gets adopted, whether there's pushback, whether there's confusion from long-term backers who are suddenly not used to the new system, hey, these are all reasons why we've got to stay up to date. We got to keep our fingers on the pulse of the platform, and we've got to make the most of our knowledge on how crowdfunding and the consumers that we interact with and how they behave. And so it's going to be interesting. It always is. But I want to congratulate the Kickstarter team on not sitting on their laurels, going big, going bold, and trying to be that one-stop shop for creators and setting that as a goal for the product. It will be interesting to see whether or not they're able to achieve that vision, how fast they're able to achieve that vision, or if the a la carte model will continue to be alive and well, and that different creators will choose which platforms and products that they incorporate into their crowdfunding mix. It's exciting times.